Good morning, Spiritual Life Center. Welcome to the SLC Sunday Experience. Happy All Hallows Eve. We're so glad you're here today to celebrate with us, and we're going to sing about it.
Yes, we are. Happy Halloween, everybody. Let's sing. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. In the right place, I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. In my soul, oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. My soul is welcome. Your soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul, oh, my soul. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Again. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. Let me see those hands up. My soul is welcome here. Yes. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. It's welcome here. Oh, yeah. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Well, good morning. Happy Hallows Eve, also known as Halloween.
And good morning, Reverend James. And we greet you this morning in the name of all that is good, all that is holy, and all that is sacred, and in the warm and loving energy of this community, Spiritual Life Center. The Spiritual Life Center honors all people worshiping in temples, mosques, stone circles, churches, and of course, the beautiful temples of nature, because there is no space that God does not grace. And if this is your very first time with us here on site or online, we especially want to welcome you because we know that you are not here by accident. Every single one of us is here by
Divine appointment.
And we're just so pleased to be able to be together on this special dress-up day. And we're, of course, also very excited when you silence your electronic devices and, of course, wear your mask properly.
Well, we take a moment now to connect with that presence. So take a breath in and breath out and just focus on our breathing for a moment. And be fully present in the here and now. For it's in this moment that all the power is. And as we make this power the activity of our awareness, we get in alignment with the truth of our being. We're entrained to be in rhythm with this presence. For this presence and I and all of us are one. We lift our eyes upon the hills from which cometh our help. We see the visions of what can be in our life, in our community, in our world. We make that our energy, and suddenly the magic happens. As we do our work along the way, we know that this presence that is beyond word provides the increase. We can rest assured that it's always there for us. It's within us, around us, and is our very life. So we're grateful to be the vessels and the vehicles for this presence to be amplified in our part of the universe, whatever place we may be. Because as we all do our part, we all are lifted up. And we're grateful for this as we go forth amplifying and multiplying the all good. And so it is, and so we let it be as we come together in spirit. Amen. Our mission here at Spiritual Life Center is as follows. I invite you to join as we affirm it together. To transform lives as we love, serve, and remember. And we carry out that mission as we lived to the best of our abilities 5 basic unity principles. We are universal, that really underlie everything that we do and really represents the foundation of what we teach. So let us affirm those together. God is absolute good and everywhere present. People are inherently good. Thoughts create our experiences. Prayer and meditation are how we connect with God. We must take action.
And we have a lot of action as we start into our 2.5 month of holiday celebrations. So today we are having the screening of the film Coco, and it's a wonderful story that depicts the tradition of the Day of the Dead. And those in costumes, and some of you out there have costumes, have a chance to win prizes. The movie treats come on a love offering basis, and some of you have registered online for the delicious empanadas. So you can stay and hang out, and then the movie starts at 1.
And speaking of activities, our Bridge of Light service is going to be taking place on Wednesday, November the 3rd. It's entitled The Bridge of Light Ancestral Ceremony, and it's inspired by the Day of the Dead tradition, which honors our ancestors. And there'll be an altar displaying photos of those souls who have come before us and have brought the foundation of the new thought as well as the unity principles forward. Reverend Deborah is going to offer historical perspective and insight on some of the people who have come up through our movement in unity, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore primarily, and we'll also honor others who have been part of our community here at Spiritual Life Center, Faith and Michael Moran. There will be a period of quiet meditation to take in the beauty of the altar, as well as contemplate our personal role in carrying this bridge of light into our world and into the future. So you're invited to bring your personal photos of your ancestors to be placed on the altar as well.
And ladies, we invite you to awaken and amplify your sacred feminine sovereignty by registering for a 4-week masterclass with Rima Bonario and the Queen's Council. In this live online Zoom class, you will discover practical tools to support you in tapping into your feminine superpowers by unlocking the vibrancy, passion, and creativity that lives in your body, building the capacity to feel comfortable with your greatness, and unleashing your voice, your truth, and your sacred purpose in this world. Now, this offering includes 10 courses with 15 powerful teachers over 4 weeks from November 7th to November 30th. And SLC will receive 65% of the registration fees for those who sign up through our website. So visit slcworld.org for details.
Well, we all know that each of us are here to be the light of the world, and to celebrate that, we're going to have our Light of the World Gala on November the 19th from 7 to 9 p.m. Tickets will be available on the website after 5 p.m. today. And you can also purchase them at the hub after this week as well. As always, we offer a silent auction, and a raffle or 2 will be taking place. And this is the week for donations to the auction as well as the raffle. There are many things that you can offer. You can host a dinner, provide a couple of nights of a timeshare if you have that, a piece of your art or personal services, or just hair styling or intuitive reading or massage or energy healing. And if you have something to donate, just contact Elaine LaRoa. She'll be in the courtyard after the service, or you can go to our website to contact our office for more information. So we look forward to everyone being part of that in some capacity.
And next week, daylight saving time ends. So set your clocks back. And for those of you who forget to do that, the coffee will be hot. You can come and sit and chat.
Yep, there'll always be someone here who'll be like, where is everybody? Okay.
And you can follow the fall-winter events calendar is online, and you can discover everything that's happening at SLC for the next about 6 weeks. It's also on the bulletin board in the courtyard, and you can get information at the hub as well. And of course, everything is always at the website.
Well, at this time, I invite anyone who are chaplains on duty this morning, as well as any of our Board of Trustees who happen to be present, to please stand. And the chaplains, by and large, are here to pray with you and to hold the high watch for you. And if you're going through any challenge or difficulty at this time, or just want to celebrate something, they will pray with you, and they're wearing the white stoles, and they can be with you here in the sanctuary or in the courtyard right after the service. And we thank them for holding up the high watch for our community, not only on Sundays, but throughout the week, and the calls that they make to those who are on our chaplain prayer list. Our Board of Trustees, we have several of them here this morning, really do a lot of work behind the scenes that most folks are not aware of to keep us moving forward. They bring their time, their talent, their consciousness, and their skill sets to help Spiritual Life Center to become the best that it can be. And we thank them for their service and their energy that they bring, and they're available to answer questions that you may have as well. So we thank any of the board members that are here this morning as well.
And we love to greet our newcomers. In a moment, we will ask you to raise your hand, but right now, we just want you to know there are many ways to become connected at SLC, and you can get more information about small groups, events, and classes by filling out our welcome card. The welcome card is available online, or if you are here on site, you can raise your hand, we will give you the card, fill it out, take it out to the welcome table, and you will receive a warm welcome and a very special gift.
And are anyone here for the first time? Any first timers this morning? We invite you just to raise your hand. Any first timers? Yes, we got one up here to my right, to the left. Just hold your hand up. Thank you so much. We appreciate your presence. We affirm you. We thank you for bringing your loving energy to our community, and we support you on your spiritual path, and we appreciate all of that you are. Now, at this time, we just invite folks to greet one another in a way that feels comfortable for you, and just say, you are marvelous. Glad you are here.
Please be seated. We are going to sing our group song by Miss Paula Mandela, Look to the Beauty. And we hope you sing along. Everybody has a story, unique in all their own. Points of perception, feature characters and roles. When we start to name it, and we learn to play it, tumbling from the heavens, feeling all alone. These voices run inside my head, the storyteller's lies, dreams of illusions flowing back to ancient times. But
we look to the beauty. See that beauty within ourselves. You know, each week during our Faith in Action series, we have our artists to present artwork that is a representation of a theme for the week or a theme within the book. And this week we have two wonderful artists who are going to share their artwork about our Faith in Action program series. We have Kiki Crawford and Ellen Springwind. And Kiki has her, I want to say artwork, as she has entitled it, Emotions. And this is what she writes. Emotions are the thing we all have in common. They can break us or make us, but we can gain control over our emotions by learning to show them. My piece represents the peak of stress, when you just can't take it anymore. It symbolizes an explosion of feelings. The burst of color shows how many emotions you can feel at once. The black, the darkest, the white, the calmest. See how chaotic the colors are when they blend together? That's the point. Emotions work like that too. If you feel too many at once, you get confused and lose grip of reality. When that happens, the colors react like a hot ember pulsing with heat. They get so hot that at one point they just explode. Show your feelings. They are valid, just like you. They matter, and so do you. Feeling happy? Great. Feeling sad? Perfectly fine. If you start showing your emotions to people around you, they'll love you, then maybe, just maybe, you'll love yourself, and life will be a burst of beautiful colors. Emotions. And that's one of our Youth of Unity participants. And so we thank her for showing her talent and sharing it with us today. And now we have Ellen Springwind, and her title of her work is Reclaiming the Power of Serpent. She writes, several weeks ago, I found this piece of bark on a walk by the American River. When I brought it home, it called to me to paint an aboriginal snake on it. Soon after I began to read The Voice of Knowledge, in which Don Miguel writes about the snake as the first storyteller in the Garden of Eden, Prince of Lies. He says we believed him and agreed to take his word as truth by putting our faith in him. Don Miguel says we use symbols to help make sense of everything we experience. As I contemplated the symbol of snake, I began to ask myself what I was believing about and found its meaning in various ancient cultures. Snake in ancient Egypt is a symbol of power and divine protection. In Aboriginal mythology, rainbow serpent was a deity responsible for giving life as well as destroying it. In Hinduism and Buddhism, the Naga snake deity represents rebirth, death, and mortality because it casts off its skin and is reborn. In Inca mythology, serpent represents the beginning of a new life as well as wisdom. Don Miguel writes that with blind faith, we can believe any one of these symbolic meanings and lose our power to it. When we release our faith from the lies, we recover free will and make our own choice. We recover the power to believe whatever we want to believe. And when we have the power to believe whatever we want, all we want is love. Common sense tells me that snake is one of God's creations and its own beauty and powerful qualities. I choose the animal medicine meaning. Snake says it's time to slough off the old pattern so that the new design can pulse with the most current energy. I choose this new perception of snake and to reclaim the faith and power given to it as the Prince of Lies. Reclaiming the Power of Serpent by Ellen Springwind. Thank you.
I invite us now to please speak our vision statement together. Spiritual Life Center is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions, weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom. We cultivate a spiritual deepening with the divine, each other, and our planet. And now, in preparation for meditation, let's sing our chant together, Spirit in me.
I'd like everybody to just take a deep breath and get settled in your chairs. And sing this beautiful chant with us. Spirit in me, live out in the open, shine from my life like the sun. Give of your goodness, conquer the darkness, Spirit of light and love. Spirit in me. Spirit.
Your eyelids. And let out a soft sigh as your consciousness floats up and up into the world of daydreams. Below you, the ocean meets the land with soft, white-capped waves. And on the shore, you notice a cluster of white buildings that sparkle in the sun. As you come closer, you see a Ferris wheel and a merry-go-round. It's an amusement park. Gently, you settle down on a deserted midway. Looking around, you see a boathouse, pure white, trimmed in gold. It is beautiful, ornate, elegant. The doorway is lined with twinkling lights. As you approach, you hear a voice from inside calling, "Come right up, best boat ride in the world. We are never outdone. Get your tickets now. Come sail the 7 seas." And you step through the doorway. There's no one there. But a voice says, "We're just kidding about the ticket. Come on board." The small boat, white, trimmed in gold, rests near the dock. And so you climb aboard. And the boat softly lurches forward, and then it smooths out. But you realize that this is not a sailing boat. It's just one of those amusement park boats that run along rails. And you feel a little disappointed, but then you decide to enjoy the ride. The scenery is well done. It looks real, but of course, it's just an imitation of nature. And then you feel that the little boat, guided by hidden rails, seems so confining. And it lurches every time it runs across the seam in the railing. And you begin to imagine how wonderful it would be if you could break free of those rails, pull out oars, raise a sail, go wherever you want to go, sailing freely. And every time the boat lurches over another seam, your desire for freedom increases. With each bump, your image of freedom becomes stronger, more real. And you even say it out loud, "I want to be free." And now more than anything, you wish that boat to be free to sail on the ocean. And all of your energy and focus goes into this image. And the bumping and lurching increases to an almost alarming level, but you continue to hold your vision. Freedom to sail the 7 seas is now the only thing in your mind. With a great rattle and the sound of metal tearing, your little boat lifts up, is airborne for a few seconds, and then gently splashes into the water. A salty breeze ruffles your hair and you open your eyes. You are on the ocean under a vast blue sky. You did it. You broke free of the barriers and boundaries of the amusement park ride. As your boat, all white and gold trim, sparkling in the sunlight, quietly skims along the water, you realize it was your faith and your vision that got you here, to this freedom. As you glide toward the sun, close your eyes and immerse yourself in gratitude for the strength and the faith that set you free in the silence. You realize that you are free to go wherever you want to go, and faith will take you there. Nothing holds you back. And now your boat enters a sheltered cove and glides toward the dock, nestling right up to it. With joy and gratitude, you climb out, knowing that your boat of faith always awaits. It's always available. Whenever you want to sail free, it will be right here for you. As you take a breath and begin to return to your physical body, receive this blessing. Oh, my beloved, faith is all you need to set yourself free. Faith is never blind. Faith always knows exactly where it is and where it is going. The more you practice faith, the stronger it will be, the freer you will be. Remember this, always.
Would I do if I knew that I could not fail? And if I believed, would the wind always fill up my sail? How far would I go? What could I achieve? Trusting the hero in me. If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge where true believers dare to tread. I'd never lose faith, even when losing my way. What step would I take today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do
Thank you. What would I do today if I were brave? I had mentioned earlier that I think those who are on this particular path of spiritual work actually are the brave ones. Because what this requires is that we always take a look at ourselves on a deep level, no matter what's going on the outside, as opposed to blaming anything outside of us for our conditions, our reactions, our way of being in the world. So what would we do if we were brave? We'd probably show up at Spiritual Life Center. Well, there's one brave woman who I came across a while back, and she was angry at a friend. She was angry at a friend because that friend had not followed through on a promise. You know, she had promised, that friend I think had promised to help with a task in exchange for some work that she had done on his behalf. But the person didn't show up on the day that it was supposed to be done. And this made her extremely upset. And she says she vividly fantasized beating him to a pulp. And in her mind, she enjoyed every single moment of it. She said, I can feel myself doing it and relishing in it. But her fantasy began to fade, and after a while, she felt a little more calm. She felt a little bit more relaxed. She felt more in harmony with herself. And she said, in that state, she had a revelation. She realized that she was angry because she feared that she did not have the ability to do the task by herself. So her anger wasn't really about him, it was really about her. It was something that she avoided because she didn't feel capable of doing it all alone. And she realized that her friend's failure to follow through on his promise was really a blessing in disguise for her. For she now had the opportunity to learn to do something new and therefore add to her feeling of competence, add to her feeling of self-worth and worthiness. She said she learned that every time we let our negative emotions run their course, and eventually they will run their course, if we listen, we will find that there's a perfectly understandable belief. Don Miguel Ruiz calls it a story behind that feeling. A belief in a story that she otherwise, she said, might not have been aware of if she had not looked at herself closely. You know, when I first took A Course in Miracles, one of the statements that I remember very clearly, it said that we are never upset for the reasons that we think we are. She thought she was upset at her friend because that friend did not keep his agreement with her. But as she looked deeper about the upset, Don Miguel would say it was a reaction to a story that she made up, that she was not capable of doing a task. Of course, that's a story in and of itself. That's a lie. But as Don Miguel points out, our emotions are real. Every emotion that we feel is real. It is the truth. An emotion is trying to tell us something about ourselves. And as I ran across that particular part of it, I thought of, a scene in the movie, The Color Purple. I've seen that many years ago. But sometimes they just pop up in my mind. I seem to remember there was a song in there, God's trying to tell you something. It was about the time that one of the main characters had been disowned by her father, and she was doing a lot of riotous living, and she was singing in juke joints, and his father was a preacher, and they had fallen out, and he disowned her, and she was doing her singing and all of that. And back in the background across the pond, there was a singing going on by the choir, and they were just saying, God's trying to tell you something. And so she stopped, and like Pied Piper, led all the people from the juke joint over to the church to sing that song. So God's trying to tell us something. The emotions are trying to tell us something. In this context, the message is that the source of the upset is deeper than the surface. It's deeper than the explanation that we think it is. It's not outside of us. It's not other people. It's not an event. Oftentimes, these things come back to a judgment about ourselves. about our own story that we've accepted, the voice of knowledge that we're learning about from Don Miguel Ruiz that is not true. Someone said a while back that it's not what you don't know that hurts you. It's what you think you know that is not so that causes all the trouble. What we think we know is really our story. Story is based upon the belief that we're operating from a sense of limitation. We're operating from a sense of feeling unworthy, operating from a sense that I'm not good enough, don't have enough, never will have enough, or I can't, I'm willing, I came from the wrong side of the tracks. That's where I was born. Or if they didn't have any tracks from where I came from a side that didn't have any tracks. We may say things like, I'm too tall, too short, too large, too fat, too skinny, too rich, wait a minute, you can't be too rich. Let me stop that. That's not possible. Well, maybe. That's a whole different conversation. But the idea is this. As it points out in this week's reading, that if we react with upset, it's because somebody has kicked us. And we know who that somebody is. It's the voice in our head, the main character of our own story. And what we believe we are, that is not true. So the hate, the anger, the normal reactions are messages from our authentic selves and not who we are pretending to be. It doesn't have to do with how we're showing up and how we think we are. They are not from the story of the truth. So when stuff happens, and stuff will happen, and we have that person that comes into our life that gets on our last nerve, leading to our upset, it's telling us we think what we really think about ourselves. God or spirit, our integrity, as Don Miguel calls it. Like I said, this kind of confused me. He said, our integrity. He's really talking about our spirit. It's trying to tell us something. It's sending us a message. And we put our faith in a false story, and therefore there's reaction that is telling us, hey, take a look at this. But when we don't, we project our upset on other people. We project it on our own screen of life. In other words, our unresolved issues, our worries, our doubts, our fears, our unforgivenesses of ourselves, the false stories and the lies about ourselves are projected on those other people or even upon situations or those events. But those situations and those people being the good people that they are, they're just shining the message right back to us to let us know what we may need to take a look at. They're saying, oh, here's what you've forgotten about yourself. Here's what you believe about yourself. Here's what you hide about yourself. Here's what you're lying about yourself. So those emotions, as they say, are true, they're legitimate, but they help us identify the falsehoods we have believed about ourselves and how they clash with our integrity, as Don Miguel calls it, or our spiritual self. But the good news is this. We can change those beliefs. We can transform them into love. One of the definitions of this term love, that New Thought talks about is that the idea, it's a force, it's an energy that binds everything together. And another definition I've liked of late was that, whenever we support our own or another's spiritual growth, Don Miguel says that if we're not happy, there's something out of sync spiritually within us. And there's something in our story that is suppressing that happiness. But we can change the story. And we can begin to move from a victim to a victor to a vessel of the Spirit of the living God. We can create it. Everything that we see has come out of a story, a belief, or imagination. The art that we saw earlier, or the art that we may make in our life, really has come out of our own imagination and story. The music that we hear, the music that's composed comes from the story that we have within our minds. The games we play and we make up, they all come out of our own stories. So if we're not happy, we can create a new story by putting our faith in stories that are truth about us, the truth about us. This, of course, requires that we unlearn. We unlearn those untruths. We unlearn those false stories that we have accepted as being true in our life. I often have mentioned that we can call this place Spiritual Life Center. It could be another name. It's really the Institute of Higher Unlearning. Really, we're trying to unlearn. Unlearn the stories of limitation. Unlearn the stories of fear, doubt, and worry that we've accepted as being truth. Unlearn the stories of not being good enough or not being worthy enough. Unlearning those stories of all the ways we're moving through life in some way, shape, or form, trying to protect the little self, the small self, that is not the truth of who we are. Instead, we write new stories of stepping free, liberating ourselves so that this power, that this presence, that this love that we call God, that I like to call the force, can be expressed through each and every one of us. So as we lead the work this week, it's really about redirecting our faith energy. As we know, we have all the faith that we ever going to have. Don Miguel calls it, intent, another word that we can use it as faith. And as that reading notes, as we express that intent with the words that we speak. Words are magic. The words are also known as the logos, which means that they're creative. I went to a workshop many years ago, and the facilitator was saying something to the effect that if we have unwavering intent and focused faith and action behind that, we can speak our words and we can say the word chair, and a chair will come spewing out of our mouth. Because that's how powerful the words can be in our life. He was exaggerating a bit, I think, but the point was the power of our words. They have creative power. It says in Matthew, the 12th chapter, in the 36th verse, "But I say unto you that every idle word that you shall speak shall give account thereof in the day of judgment." Now, judgment is not some far-off place or some time in the future. Judgment is right here and now. Because our words do not return void. They complete the task from which they have been sent. The wisdom writers in the Proverbs say it this way, that life and death is found in the power of the tongue. It may be a very small instrument of the body, but it yields great power. Now, of course, we have the right to say anything we want. We don't want to infringe upon anybody's rights. We can create whatever story that we want. We have the right to do that. We have the choice to do that. And our story will ultimately allow us to grow, develop, and unfold, become the greatest yet to be if we make that choice. So, we have the right to call somebody up on the phone or call everybody up on the phone. I guess nowadays folks are using Zoom or Google, whatever. I don't remember. I can't even keep up with all the stuff that's going on. And we can tell them our story, all the problems that we have if we want to do that. But the moment that we do, the moment that they agree with that story, they multiply the power of that story. It becomes more intense. It becomes more magnified. And they will believe the story, and we will believe the story. As it says, where two or more gathered together, there I am in the midst of you. We're really saying that the energy of the universe is there when there's an agreement in something. It magnifies that. And it begins to drain us of our life energy when it's not a truth story. Often people drain their life energy by engaging sometimes what we call meaningless conversations and stories. I was mentioning earlier, I've had some friends that I still hang out with from way back. I may not have seen them in years. They had a conversation going on, years ago. I come back. They're having the same conversation. They're just continuing on the same conversation. Sometimes they just have energy leaks, and we want to prevent those energy leaks. Often people allow the divine energy of spirit to be drained from them by being involved in those kind of meaningless conversations and stories, and often through the course of the day. We'll find those conversations and stories that have no meaning because we know how it's going to end even before they start. Nothing more than opinions being spouted out, going back and forth, no dialogue, everyone seeking to stay the same and change the other person. Nothing else happening but opinions and false stories. Yet people engage in them anyway. It's not aware. That's okay. That's another thing. We just need to become more aware. They engage in those meaningless conversations and stories. And they wonder, maybe at the end of the day, why they end up laying up in bed and they fall out just tired. Energy sapped because they have allowed the leakage of the cosmic energy to be dispersed through the meaningless, false, and disempowering stories. Our words have power. They're creative. They impact us. However, if we know the truth, once we've convinced ourselves of the truth and the true stories about ourselves, God's truth, not the opinion, the eternal truth, not what's changeable, then we realize the only individuals we ever have to convince is ourselves. We never have to convince anyone else about the sacredness of life, the sacredness of truth, the sacredness of a vision, the sacredness of intention, sacredness of being aligned with the Spirit of the living God. Because once someone is clicked into who and what they are, beyond opinion, beyond perception, beyond false story, beyond a historical point of view, then the entire universe bends and shapes itself around that core belief, around that truth. And so you and I can walk through the world, and when we are in alignment with that, the Red Seas part. The Jericho walls come tumbling down by the vibration that we are hanging out in, because we are creating the living word of truth, the living word of the force in our life. So we don't waste our time on the meaningless. Instead, we infuse our conversations with the power and the presence and the love of this force, this presence, this divine energy. Understand, we want to be enthused by the power of our words. Our words create our worlds. They create our worlds. Thus, we want to use our word power by engaging in the attention and our imagination in talking about great possibilities for life. We don't censor it. We don't qualify it. We don't doubt it. Because when we touch that truth, we're amplifying an important principle. Two or more gathered together. That energy is there. So we say to ourselves, empowering, creative things like, wouldn't it be wonderful to have a world that works for everyone? Wouldn't it be wonderful to have a political system that's not about us versus them, but helps us become the best that we can be collectively? Or we have a collective agreement that, maybe the planet is worth saving. I think that'd be a good story. We no longer see and experience, violence and counter-violence in our communities and our world. We see businesses as there to enjoy and to be of service to other individuals and to bring abundance across the planet. We begin to use the word like that. Now, we may notice places within us that will say, how in the world is that going to happen? But that's not our job. Our job is simply to begin by hurling the word of truth into the arena of life and watch it work. And then we're lifted into the what. And somehow the how shows up. It takes care of itself. Of course, the what is God. That's the truth. The what is love. That's the truth. The what is peace. That is the truth. The what is God's intention for all of us. That is the truth. That is the story that we can choose. Now, Don Miguel reminds us that once again that we have to be impeccable with our words. This is in his other book too, but he mentions it again. And part of being impeccable with our words is not using our words against ourselves. One of the greatest ways to use the power of word for ourselves is to express words of gratitude. Gratitude is energy. We begin by making a list of things that we're grateful for in our life, and that becomes our story. There's something that becomes our language. It becomes our way of being. There's something known as the science of cognition. It's a big word. It just simply means that when language matches our nervous system, it ends up creating our point of view. It creates our story that we start living from. And when our language and our story has the vibration of gratitude and appreciation and thanksgiving, we attract more things to be grateful for. There's power in this creative word because it becomes our consciousness. And consciousness is causal. It's the whole ball of game. Jesus simply said, it is done unto you as you believe. Many people, no one here, complain. They complain and have a false story about what isn't. And what happens? They get more of what is not. That's not the kind of story we want. We have the ability to create a new story, the story that's about the truth. And oftentimes it's not how much what we do, it's about the energy. It's not about doing, it's about the story we're coming from, the energetic we're coming from. There was a person that was in a relationship, and they just saw their partner through a particular complaint. That's all they saw, the complaint, what was wrong and bad and not up to speed, and they had tunnel vision. Gratitude was dissolved. And they began to experience that complaint over and over again because that was that person's story. We have a choice. We have a choice today to direct our faith energy either to complaint or gratitude. Understanding that gratitude not only causes us to vibrate with this good, which is the true story, it also brings out the good within people that we interact with as well. There's something about when deep, full feels deep, it understands it. When we acknowledge it, it attracts those experiences. Since what's foremost in our awareness, in our consciousness, is the true story that has become part of our experience. Well, he talks about the impeccable with our word as part of our creative energy, the creative power, and not using our word against us. So there's one helpful tip that I think we can employ as a practical thing. What we want to do is connect and listen to that spiritual presence and talk to ourselves, talk to that spiritual presence. Because all of our experience is a result of our own self-contemplation. Most people, I don't know most people, but many people, they recycle opinions and stories of the world. And they come from all kinds of directions. They come from news and other people. And so when they run into a problem or experience, the first thing they want to do is talk to the world. Ooh, that's a dangerous thing to do. We want to have a private tryst with spirit and then talk to ourselves. We don't talk to the world out there. Those who do want to share their own false stories. And if they find another sleepwalker, the sleepwalker will quickly be hypnotized. And they will say, I was thinking the same identical thing. No, they were not. They were not thinking at all. They weren't thinking that at all. They were just, I should say, agreeing because they didn't want to be left out of the story. They may say, hey, it sounds good. Sounds pretty good to me. I think I can go along with that. I'm down with that. But as Don Miguel points out in that book, the blind can't lead the blind. We want to talk to ourselves. We don't want to talk to the world out there. We want to connect with spirit, talk to ourselves, and to be reminded of this ultimate reality that spawned you, that spawned me, that spawned this world, this dimension of wholeness that is our very life. So we begin to talk to ourselves. You don't have to say it out loud because if you walk down the street, do that, they may be a little bit, look a little crazy. But we talk to ourselves, not to the world until it clicks. And the voice, the real inner voice, begins to speak. Or we begin to hear that real inner voice, and it leads us, it guides us, it directs us into the path of right and truthful seeing. Anyway, let me close out, as I say in the old school, bring it on home, James, bring it on home. How we use our faith energy dictates our stories. Stories create our life experience. And our mission, possible should we choose to accept it, is to redirect our faith energy away from the false notions of life, the falsehoods, the stories that are not who we are, or expressions of this presence we call God. Rather, we want to speak words of truth because as writers and producers and actors and directors, we're directors of our own stories. And we can at any time rewrite our stories. No one else can do it for us. Just like we cannot change anyone else's story, the only story we have dominion and control over is our own. And when we write and speak and put faith in the story that reflects the truth about us, the self-inflicted nonsense which I call sin, self-inflicted nonsense, begins to end. Judgment of others and ourselves begin to diminish. We no longer try to prove we're good enough. We know we're born good enough. And that is how we use our faith. That is how we use the power of our words as a positive force of creation. Peace, blessings to you. Well, next week is the 6th week of our Faith in Action series. We're heading toward the home stretch. And we're going to explore chapters 9 and 10 entitled The Dream of the Second Attention. And the color next week is indigo. Indigo. Is it? No, it's not indigo irie. It's India-re. All right. At this point, let's go ahead and affirm our affirmation. I got ahead of myself. I should have done that first. But let's affirm our affirmation that we can take this week to kind of trigger some remembrance of what we learned this week. Let's say that together. I open to my feelings. When I speak from the integrity of my spirit, I am impeccable with my word. So next week we're going to continue on with the dream of the second attention, I should say. Well, at this time, for those who are online, we just invite you to support this work and spread the consciousness that we're radiating from Spiritual Life Center. And you can give your gift, your offering, and you can do so by texting SLC Love to 44321. That's SLC Love to 44321. Or you can go to our website, slcworld.org, and you can give in other ways, including by mail. So when you go to slcworld.org, click the Donate tab, and you'll be taken to the page where you can give in other ways and given the instructions on how to do so. So we thank you, and we appreciate you. And if you're watching online, help spread the word, depending upon what platform you're on. Like, comment, subscribe. Whatever you want to do to get us out there. Even if you have some disagreement, that's okay. It's all good. At this time, we invite folks to take their love offerings who are here, and we symbolically raise it to the expanding good, and know that it keeps us moving forward as an organization. We don't depend on anybody else but you, folks online. This is what makes us stay viable. And we want to provide a place for others who are looking for what we have to offer. We are at an important time, I think, in our history. The country, the world, where the message of possibilities is needed more than ever, where people can recognize who they are more than ever, and rather than who they are not. So we appreciate those who are contributing to this. And with that in mind, let us say our offertory blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God. Thank you all.
Spread your wings and fly. You belong to the sky. Many wonders lie waiting within your mind's eye. And as you believe, you'll see. quiet when it's over, because we're going to do a spooky, spectacular song for you after.
Yes,
Right,
at the end of the
James?
service, hang around.
hang around.
You
You're
don't
gonna
want to
wanna
miss
hang
stuff.
around.
They got something special for you. Special for you. As you believe, you shall receive. No truer words were ever spoken or sung, so thank you so much for that. Right now, we believe in answered prayer. And we know that many have put prayers in the prayer box that is before us this afternoon. They have challenges, difficulties, seemingly impossibilities. But we know that in the realm of spirit, there are no problems that spirit does not have an answer for. We can go so far as to say the answer has already been provided. As it says, before they call, I've already answered you. Our job as we hold the prayer energy is to simply lift ourselves to be one with the answer. It may be beyond our human understanding, but once we come with the belief that the answer is already present, then our minds and hearts and very beings gravitates toward the solution. For this presence only knows divine and perfect spiritual solutions to every seeming human problem that we have. So we declare and affirm the answers have already been done. And we know that it will be continued on as these prayers go on to silent unity to be prayed over for an additional 30 days. We're grateful for the gifts and the offerings for those who are here today and those that are watched online. Knowing to support not only this community, but also get the givers into that spiritual cycle of giving and receiving, knowing that whatever we give out, it comes back to us in many ways beyond just monetarily. This is the nature of the universe. This is the nature of God. This is the nature of love, intelligence. And we are in the flow of this intelligence. And we're grateful to be part of it. So it is as we go forth doing our part to amplify and multiply the all good. So it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Let us join together as we affirm our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, I am, and all is well. And now, our peace song. And so it is. Stick around for your holiday treat, your Halloween treat.
to no clothes.
Oh, wait, I hear it likes the girls. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah. Go! Who you gonna call? If you had a dose of a freaky ghost, baby, you better call. Bustin' makes me feel don't get caught alone. No. When it comes to your door, unless you want a little bit more, I think you better call. So, who you gonna call? Hey, who you gonna call? What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think you better call.
Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Who you gonna call?
Can't hear you.
Ghostbusters! Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
A little bit
Who you
louder
gonna
now.
call? Ha, ha, ha. Take it away with a badass solo wrestle! Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Ready? Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Happy Halloween, everyone! Happy Halloween!